we changed the way that we do business in Bingham County, where prior to we had to rely on private industries under contract to provide us with services.
A vote's not just a name we choose, it shapes the path we win or lose. And when it counts, when stakes are real, we need someone with strength and skill for clearer answers, stronger ground, for trust that's built and truly sound, for work that's done the way it should be, for truth that serves our community.
So one of the things I wanted to talk or make people aware of is our budget, how our budget works, right? So when I came to the office, the coroner at that time was able to utilize a lease vehicle that was a Toyota RAV4, which was great because my understanding prior to that is that the coroner's office didn't actually have a vehicle prior to that. And I have heard scuttlebutt out in social media circles as well as social circles. People talk about how decedents may have been transported in the past. And I, just like anybody, am appalled at what I've heard might have taken place. Now, I haven't vetted that. I haven't talked to those individuals, so I have to take that with a grain of salt. It's always good to trust, like Ronald Reagan said, but trust but verify. So, at any rate, when I came in the office, I immediately identified the need for a response vehicle. So we looked at our budget. We identified the fact that we had very limited funds. And I reached out to the sheriff, and I asked the sheriff, do you have any vehicles that you are decommissioning, that you're going to rotate out of service that might, fit the need for our office? And we were able to identify a vehicle that they were going to remove from service. It was going to go to auction. We were able to transfer ownership of that vehicle from under the sheriff's department to the coroner's office. We got a very reasonable deal on that vehicle. And then we outfitted that vehicle with a system for supplies, for response to calls, as well as for transport of our decedents that are in our care. And the way that we set that vehicle up was consistent with industry standards. So we looked at all the industry standards throughout the country, what's used for death investigation, transport, what are the things that we need to consider. Obviously, one of the things that needed to be considered was exposure to investigators, dignity for the deceased, and chain of custody. And once we were able to satisfy those components, we changed the way that we do business in Bingham County, where prior to we had to rely on private industries under contract to provide us with services. Since we've done that, we have been able to save the county about $20,000 a year on transportation fees, which is extremely important. But what's even more important is that we have a chain of custody that can be supported and defended in either a civil or a criminal proceeding, which may not seem important to some individuals, but it is incredibly important to that family of the individual if it potentially might cost a decision in a criminal proceeding or a civil proceeding. And we've upgraded our transport vehicles to actually include not only that isolated compartment for that decedent, but for a dedicated air conditioning system. We're the only coroner's office in the state of Idaho that has a dedicated air conditioning component to our transport to make sure that those decedents are taken care of with respect and dignity, and they're not exposed to environmental conditions. Extremely important. Another thing on the budget, when I came into office, we were dealing with the COVID situation at the time. And because of the infectious disease nature of COVID, our forensic pathology center required that we had COVID tests done on every single decedent prior to going to autopsy, so that they, of course, would not expose their staff unnecessarily to a viral disease. So I looked throughout the country and identified a grant that was available where we could satisfy that need, and we would not tax others in our community. And essentially, we would have an asset for Eastern Idaho. So I wrote a grant to FEMA. We received and were awarded that grant, and that asset was about $130,000. FEMA paid for the lease of that, what it's called the mobile morgue. It has a refrigeration system on it, a generator system on it, so it's self-contained, and it'll hold 24 decedents. So we received that award. We leased it for 6 months, and at the end of that lease period, the county was able to purchase that asset for $1. So for the process of just going through the grant application process, we were able to receive a $130,000 asset for $1. And although people would say, well, we don't have mass casualties that often, is it really necessary that we have that? Could we be using those funds for something else? We have very little maintenance cost on that unit. Again, we purchased it for $1, so I don't know if we could purchase something that serves us that extensively for $1. But we have used it in our neighboring communities when they have had mass casualty incidents.
So when the time comes, take your stand with future resting in your hand. Choose the course that lifts us higher. Choose the one who won't tire. Jimmy Roberts, steady, true, ready to do